McGillicuddy and Murder's Pawn Shop. Episode 9. An Invitation. September 15th, 1921. Continued. I stood on the sidewalk, completely baffled. The headlines were talking about a murder, a young murderess. And there was my face. But I hadn't killed anyone. When I was a little girl, I fell down the stairs. I hurt myself rather a lot, but for the first few minutes, I just sat there. I didn't feel any pain. I just couldn't think straight. My knee was bleeding, but I wondered if I should get up and walk to the drugstore anyway. After the shock faded, I realized I couldn't walk to the drugstore with a knee dripping blood. And then, the pain set in. I spent the next hour yowling on the sofa. I felt a little like that now. My brain didn't work. I stared at the picture of my face, and I didn't understand. What was I doing on the front page of the newspaper? The first clear thought that came to me was someone is going to recognize you. I coughed into my fist to cover the lower half of my face and to keep my head down. I hurried into an alley. Then I stood in a doorway, tucked out of sight, and felt my knees turn to jelly. The night enthusiasts had power. That much was certain. They couldn't find me with magical spells or anything like that. If they could, they would have done so already. They'd done the smartest thing possible in a tough situation. They'd made me a wanted woman. I might even be recognized in Europe after this. If they could get a fake story into the newspapers by morning, why couldn't they make me wanted for murder all around the world? Sooner or later, I'd end up arrested. And then they would come. I felt such a spike of anxiety, I almost threw up. I'd fallen into a trap, tangled with a group so ruthless they'd stoop to this. Well, one thing was certain. I needed to keep my head down and my face out of sight. I looked up and down the alley, and then I wished for the back corner of McGillicuddy and Murders. I landed neatly on my couch, and I sat there, quivering. I felt just like a rabbit that's escaped a round of bullets. I needed to shiver in my burrow for a good hour before coming out for air. We'll write more later. For now, we'll shiver. Well, diary, it's later, and I've learned a thing or two about my new powers. I've got to be careful. I was lying on the sofa, listening to the morning quiet of McGillicuddy and Murders, wishing for a pork bun from the shop on Fifth Avenue, when all of a sudden, I was on Fifth Avenue, standing in the noonday sun. I was so scared I stood there like a sheep. I probably looked about 10 years old, hapless and timid. I couldn't move a muscle, and when I got my brain back, I wished for McGillicuddy and Murders. But I wouldn't go. I shut my eyes and concentrated, wished for the exact spot I'd been a moment ago. I even tried to remember a blemish on the floor, just to make it extra specific. I would not teleport. I was terrified. I was wanted for murder, and here I was, standing in broad daylight, at a busy intersection. I finally covered my face with both hands, like a girl about to sneeze, and I dashed into another alley. As soon as I was out of sight, I wished again. This time, I popped straight back into McGillicuddy and Murders, right where I wanted to be. I have no one to explain teleportation to me, but I think I understand now what was happening. I can't teleport if anyone is looking at me. In the same way, I suspect I can't arrive anywhere if someone would see me. I can teleport into a crowded area, just like I did by accident, but I'll land in a particular spot where no one is actually looking at that particular moment. That's a relief. I can wish for Paris and be assured that wherever I end up, no one will see me land. There would be quite a few awkward questions, wouldn't there? It will get tricky, though, if I want to get away. Suppose I'm running from the police. If they have their eyes on me for the whole chase, which they certainly would, Then I'd have to let myself get arrested, just to teleport out of the cell. I feel a bit better knowing my limitations. It makes my powers seem more real somehow, now that I know the ways they won't work. Instead of being magic, vague and impossible, it seems a little bit more like science. Of course, it is magic. It's magical, marvelous, explosive magic, and I'm still waiting to wake up and realize it hasn't been real. I wonder, do I want to wake up, get my old life back? No longer be on the lam? Go to work for Mr. Levy and type all day and sleep alone in a tiny apartment and... No, I much prefer this. Even though I'm not quite sure what this is yet. September 16th, 1921. I had a lovely day today. Being a fugitive is positively delicious. I went to Paris. Yes, I did. I just wished for the Eiffel Tower, and then I went sightseeing all day, soaking up the French sunshine and eating patisserie. Tomorrow I think I might see the Taj Mahal. Things will get a little tricky when I run out of money. Despite how ludicrously easy it would be to rob a bank, I don't think I want to be that kind of fugitive. I'll have to think of legitimate ways to earn money, without getting recognized. It's probably impossible, but I've been accomplishing the impossible quite a bit lately. For now, I am back in McGillicuddy and Murders, because I still want to talk to the old man. He wasn't in again today. I'm not sure what I should do, or if this waiting around for him is perfectly hopeless. September 17th, 1921. Dearest Diary, my heart will not stop beating like a drum. I saw Noble James this afternoon, the kind young man who is nevertheless a night enthusiast. And he saw me. I was buying dinner from the corner store. I was in disguise. In the wee hours of the morning, I'd teleported to a wig shop, chosen a blonde wig, and left money on the counter. I've also got a pair of round spectacles. The disguise is good enough that I feel comfortable leaving McGillicuddy and Murders for short lengths of time. Well, I was in my disguise, waiting for a hot sandwich, when Noble James and a group of men entered the store. They all wore black, with slight accents of purple and green. Night enthusiasts. Noble James looked up from the center of men, and he saw me. He locked eyes with mine. I almost dropped my handbag. I felt my heart sink to my shoes, no, further than my shoes, to the basement, and I waited for all hell to descend. I couldn't teleport. Noble James was looking at me, and besides, half the people in the shop would notice. I stood rooted to the ground. The other night enthusiasts would look over and notice me in just a second, and even with my disguise, they'd recognize the girl they were hunting. Noble James had. But instead of shouting and pointing at me, Noble James turned away and pointed to something down an aisle. The men looked there. I ran around the corner. I stood for a moment among jars of food, paralyzed with shock. I'd escaped. Noble James had diverted the attention of the other night enthusiasts and allowed me to get away. Had he done it on purpose? He must have done it on purpose. But why? I looked left and right, ready to teleport back to McGillicuddy and Murders, when Noble James strode right past me. He was alone. He grabbed my hand as he passed, and he tucked a slip of paper into my palm. Then he walked around the corner. The coast was clear. I teleported, fists clenched, and arrived in McGillicuddy and Murders. I sat down on my hidden love seat, and I unfolded the paper. It said, 9 p.m., the Iron Lion Bridge. I'll be alone. We hope you've enjoyed episode 9, An Invitation, of McGillicuddy and Murders Pawn Shop. McGillicuddy and Murders Pawn Shop is written and performed by Minerva Sweeney Wren, all rights reserved. Please subscribe, share it with your friends, and support Minerva Sweeney Wren at patreon.com/Sweeney Wren. McGillicuddy and Murder's Pawn Shop will continue next week with episode 10. Blood.